you everyone for joining the World Hijab Day conference. Before we introduce our wonderful panelists for the session today, we would like to thank our sponsor, World Chic, for graciously sponsoring our event. Our panel is titled From Silence to Strength: Personal Stories of Overcoming Adversity. And we have with us today two amazing speakers with incredible gems to share. Kiran is the Senior Communications Director for the Tampa Metropolitan Area YMCA. She is a freelance journalist, a social media specialist, and a TEDx speaker whose talk, Who's Afraid of the Hijab, has garnered over 94,000 views. Wow, mashallah. Kiran is a strong advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion, and women's rights. Then we have the incredible Sundas. Sundas is a cancer survivor and passionate advocate who works to raise awareness about cancer prevention, mental health, and better access to healthcare. With experience in nonprofits and government, she uses her knowledge to push for positive changes in healthcare and community well-being. Sundas is also the recipient of the Women of Inspiration Art Council Wood Buffalo Buffy's Award and YMM 50 Under 50 2024. Welcome to both of you. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much to World Hijab Day for asking me to be a panelist. Really appreciate it.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everybody. And thank you for joining us. It's just absolutely amazing to be here today.
Lovely having the both of you. So let's start off with Kiran. I want to start off with your TEDx talk, Who's Afraid of the Hijab? It has resonated with so many people. Can you share the personal journey that led you to become such a visible advocate for hijab awareness?
So in the moment when it did happen over 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, it started with a negative comment, Khansa, and most people know about that if you've seen my TEDx talk. But, to just end the workday and walk towards your car and a coworker comes in and goes, it's very difficult to see you go back to the Stone Age. And perplexed for a second, I just looked at her and I'm like, did you just say that to me? Because I had just started wearing the hijab. I was a few months in. I had started in 2015. Fun fact, it's my 10-year hijab anniversary this November.
Wow.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So I was wearing an abaya too. It's a long jacket, which I just like wearing. I was in Northern Alberta, Fort McMurray at that time, and her saying it's difficult to see you go back to the Stone Age became just that moment in time that changed my life. I did respond to her. I did say, I haven't gone back to the Stone Age.
Yeah.
It is progress for a Muslim woman to wear the hijab, the Islamic headscarf.
Yeah.
And she said, and I was thinking about it today. Am I grateful to her for that moment? In the moment, absolutely not. But
Yeah.
she gave me that inspiration to become a voice. Thanks to my coworkers as well, who I shared the story with, and said, you know what, you have to write about this as a freelance journalist, and you have to share your story. So here we are sharing our stories, and I did not volunteer for the TEDx talk. I was told by friends and family that it's a good idea to share, because guess what? We are building these platforms to educate.
Yeah.
And someone said it well, the onus is not us to answer all the questions all the time or to educate, but the onus is definitely on us to be available to tell our stories. And that's what we're doing here. And I did not know it would resonate with a lot of people, but I'm glad it did. And I'm always here to answer those questions.
I mean, that is such an incredible journey, right? Sometimes it is that one moment of pain that really causes like a revolution within us. Let's just put it that way. All right, Sundas, let's start with you. Could you share how your journey with both hijab and cancer has influenced your perspective on your strength and identity a little bit?
Definitely. So my journey with both hijab and cancer has been quite transformative, shaping the understanding of strength, identity, and resilience in many ways. Wearing hijab has always been a personal choice and a symbol of my faith and identity and empowerment. It represents my commitment to my values and my belief in standing strong of who I am, challenging the misconception that comes with being a visible woman from a religious minority, especially in the time of Islamophobia. My hijab has been both my strength and a statement, allowing me to navigate the world with confidence while also advocating for the rights and dignity for people who wear it. When I was diagnosed with cancer, my relationship with this identity took a new dimension. Cancer stripped me from many things: my health, my hair, my sense of normalcy. Losing my hair was a significant moment for me, as it became quite apparent to me that our society ties beauty and identity to physical appearance. But in that loss, I found a new kind of strength. My hijab became a source of comfort, a way to reclaim control over my body and how I represented myself to the world. Through both these experiences, I've learned that strength isn't about appearing invincible, but about embracing vulnerability. I also realized that identity is not one dimension. It evolves over strength and triumphance. My journey with cancer deepens my empathy, and my hijab continuously reminds me of the power of resiliency and self-expression. These intertwined experiences have driven me to advocate for others facing their own battle, whether it's illness, faith, or self-acceptance. And I want people to know that strength comes in many forms. Sometimes it is about advocating, raising your voice, but other times it's just about in the grace of simply being.
Beautiful. That's so touching. I mean, your journey is really incredible, and I think like that is where the way you brought your journey with hijab, how the step was hard, but then that became the one thing that actually gave you comfort in your struggle. Such a beautiful story.
Definitely. When I was going through cancer, a lot of people didn't realize that I was going through cancer because of my hijab and how it shielded me from a lot of comments or other negative connotations.
Yeah.
So it can be a source of strength.
Yes. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah for that. Kiran, now let's go to you. As a communications director wearing hijab in a leadership role, how have you navigated breaking stereotypes while still staying true to your identity?
Khansa, my identity as a Muslim woman is me breaking stereotypes, right?
Yeah.
It's unapologetically being Muslim. It's not having those caveats or prefaces that come with being a Muslim. That's breaking stereotypes. I mean, breaking stereotypes doesn't mean that we'll hold placards that say, "I'm here breaking a stereotype." Hello, it doesn't work that way, and
Yeah.
that's not how it is.
Yeah.
It's me saying out loud that I am a practicing Muslim woman.
Yeah.
That I will not explore a social scenario with a man in a professional setting, right? One-on-one. Yes, we have meetings. I do work with men. I have a lot of male friends, of course,
Yeah.
from work. But it's me, standing at a distance, or taking photos standing next to women, right? It's the daily that impacts, that's breaking stereotypes, and that's showing that you are comfortable and strong in your identity. It is not a slogan that it's not a rosary that you read every day and pray that
Yeah.
somebody's going to see this and learn. No, it's my job to say it out loud. And I shared it with my boss. I work for the Tampa YMCA, and I have an amazing boss. She's amazing, and our president is amazing. And they all know this because I've said it out loud, right? And they respect it. And I've always said, understanding is not a requirement for respect, right? There are many people who will never understand, and that's fine. I had a woman come up to me one day and say, "You know what? I know you grew up in the States. You are from Jersey. I know that." I'm like, "Yeah, Jersey." And she said, "I will never understand how you wear the hijab and cover like this." And I said, "Good, I grew up in Jersey, so I am from North America. You get that. Originally from Pakistan, though. But I also don't understand how women show their cleavage. I will never understand that. And that's okay. Respect doesn't require understanding.
Yeah.
I can understand the hijab. I can understand a shown cleavage. Move on. Let's just move on from that and still stay respectful of each other, right?" She's like, oh, so it was an epiphany, a light bulb went on. And it's you you walk the walk and you talk the talk, right?
Yeah.
And you won't and shouldn't get nervous about it, right? And I know it's easier said than done. I get that. I
Yeah.
get it comes with experience and age. I get it. I've been doing this since college, though. Not the hijab, but
Yeah.
standing up for diversity and inclusion, right? So the journey goes way back in being able to stand up and say, you know what, here we are, and this is what it's all about. Come ask that question, but also you don't get to question it.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And I think like what people don't understand is, it's the perspective, right? Like ultimate power is in Allah's hands and we do it for him. So like the kind of strength that we have with us, it comes from Allah. So I think just like you said, walking the walk and talking the talk, that's kind of like, how we have to go about it. So
Oh,
beautiful.
110%. It's me
Yeah.
sharing with, especially when girls or women come up to me and talk about hijab journeys and sharing difficulties, and I always say,
Yeah.
you know what, when I put the hijab on, it's for Allah first. I get dressed for Allah first. It's not for
Yeah.
people. I don't
Yeah.
want your compliment. I am not competing with anybody in the room, and it's
Yeah.
just beautiful to be competition free as a woman, especially right in a
Yeah.
day and age of competition,
Yeah.
left, right, center. I don't care what you think. I will always look good. I will try my best to look good. I will not be dowdy either.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this is not a competition with anybody. I dress for Allah, and my hijab is for Allah, and my
Yeah.
strength comes from Allah first, right?
Allah. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Sundas, um, what unique challenges did you face as a hijabi woman navigating the healthcare system, and how has this experience shaped your advocacy?
Navigating the healthcare system as a hijabi comes with its unique experiences, but it also highlights my strength and my resilience and deepens my purpose. While there were challenges, they became a stepping stone to fuel advocacy and passion for enduring equitable compassion care for all. Wearing hijab has always been a source of empowerment for me. It's a sense of identity, faith, and strength. Throughout my cancer journey, it reminded me of the power of perseverance and self-expression. Rather than being an obstacle, my hijab was a conversation starter, an opportunity to bridge understanding between the different worlds. It allows me to highlight the importance of religious awareness in healthcare system, encouraging meaningful dialogue and mutual respect between patient and healthcare provider and other patients too. One of the most inspiring part of the journey was to discover the strength within myself to advocate not only for my own health care, but others that were felt unseen or unheard. I realize our voices have power to shape change, and by sharing our experiences, I can foster inclusion in healthcare profession. This realization led me to establish Sisters in Cancer YMM, creating a space where no one has to walk their journey alone. We through peer-to-peer support, education, and awareness, we break barriers, ensuring all patients, regardless of their background, feel supported and valued. My experience gave me the privilege of working with incredible organizations and healthcare professionals who are open to learning, growing, and making a difference. My hijab and my journey with cancer both taught me the true resilience comes from embracing who we are, standing tall in our identity, and transforming changes into opportunity for change and make the world better.
It's beautiful. It's kind of reminding me of the fact that we are enough, right? No matter what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, we are enough as we are. And I think your story is just a reminder of that. So thank you
Mhm.
for sharing that, Sundas.
Yes.
Um, Kiran, can you like share, uh, the challenges and opportunities that you have faced as a hijabi woman being in media and communication?
So I think the first thing that is always important for me as a freelance journalist, and I have been writing for about 30 years now, over 30 years since high school, and telling community stories, because I absolutely love telling community stories. For the last 20 years, I was in Canada. I just moved to Tampa 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and I'm getting to learn the Tampa market. And with Tampa, or Canada, Northern Alberta, Fort McMurray, it has always been the goal to have diverse stories become front and center as well. Relegating diverse content to page 67 or 43 or 91. How about front and center as well? So saying that out loud as a journalist and seeking those stories where, because I just don't talk the talk, I do the work behind it, Khansa, right? I can't just ask you to do something without making any waves with it, or giving you the content for it, right? I can't just say, oh, this should happen. Okay, this should happen, but how are we going to make it happen? I am going to make it happen, right? I think Shiri or Sato said it in an earlier panel. You don't need that table to come and sit at. You create that table. I create tables, right? And I will always been that mover and shaker who will make that happen. But I will also give you that content. I'll go out and do the work and be able to say, hey, you know what, this is happening. I now freelance very regularly for 83 Degrees Media. And I have an amazing editor who loves multicultural content. And it's not just checking off a DEI box, but it's believing in those stories and saying, yeah, let's talk about this West African clothing boutique or Pakistani business or restaurant, because Tampa is catching up, but we still have to see stories about halal restaurants and different businesses out there, right? So the challenge always, and opportunity always, has been, let's grab those stories and let's tell those stories and present them to everybody, right? I hate when people say mainstream, we're not mainstream. Guess what? We are. Make it mainstream. Let's work on it. And yes, the journey is hard, absolutely. I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not naive. I've been working on this for a very long time. Before DEI was a buzzword and everybody wanted to say it, I've been doing this forever. So I do the hard work too, and I collect those stories and I talk to people and I say, you know what? Let's do this. Let's tell that story so that we have that platform where people can come and learn. And yes, the onus is on you to educate yourself, but we are giving you that opportunity as well, right? So as a writer, it's always has been a priority. I will tell that story nobody is telling, and I want to tell that story nobody is telling. But also go out into diverse communities who are not being asked those questions. Hey, how are you doing this? Hey, you are doing such great work. Let's tell that. And sometimes it does take convincing of our own communities, right? It's not always good. No, I don't want. And that's fine. I respect that. But here's the thing. If you won't tell your story, you don't have a right to complain. Because when somebody else tells it for you, guess what? They'll get it wrong. And then there's no need to complain because you said no to telling your story, right? So I'm here telling my story, and I'm telling it 24/7 in terms of how I can educate everyone as a Muslim woman, as a hijab wearing woman, but also someone who loves telling a good story when it comes to diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I think it's very meaningful work, the work that you're doing, because for the longest time, others have been telling our story. And, it's about time people realize that if you want your story to be heard, you should be the one telling those stories. So really beautiful takeaway, Kiran. Sundas, let's hear from you now. Could you share a story about how your hijab has opened doors for meaningful conversations about healthcare access?
Definitely. I just wanted to reiterate, telling your story is such an important part, and being advocate and being vocal about if you see something, if you see some sort of negative connotation or anything like that, it's important to be vocal and teach people how to navigate through that. But I wanted to highlight one of the stories. I was coming out of surgery, one of multiple that I had throughout my cancer journey, but I was under anesthesia. So I was just coming out of it and quite drowsy. And I felt somebody putting blanket over my head. And because I couldn't understand it, I just kept pushing it off because I was like, what's going on? Like, why is someone just putting a blanket over my head? And when I came to, I asked the nurse, I said, why are you doing this? Like, I don't understand. And she's like, well, I saw you wearing a hijab when you came in. And I wanted to make sure in post-op that your hair is covered. And it's such a beautiful gesture.
Yeah.
That moment stayed with me because it's just a simple, powerful gesture of kindness. It reminded me of the religious and cultural awareness in healthcare is not just about policy or training. It's about human connection and empathy and willing to see patients as individuals with unique needs. This experience opened the doors for a meaningful conversation with that nurse about importance of cultural religious sensitivity in patient care. And it sparked a conversation on how healthcare providers can incorporate meaningful consideration into their practice, ensuring every patient, regardless of their background, is felt and seen in that situation because they come at the doors of healthcare facilities at their worst. And a lot of times their humanity is taken away because they are not able to do so many things that they were able to do before the disease. But giving that small part of humanity to the patient, giving that small part of normalcy to that patient makes a big difference. And that moment like that inspired me to continue advocating for inclusive healthcare. It's not about making drastic changes. It's about fostering understanding, asking questions, creating a space where a patient feels safe and supported. Throughout my work, I strive to encourage these conversations so that more healthcare providers can approach care with the same level of compassion and awareness that I experienced that day.
Beautiful. It was really touching. Yes, it's the humanness, right? It's that feeling of humanity that you're looking from people around you all the time. So it's a beautiful story.
It's because the moment that you come there, you're at your worst. But if you can see the human being behind that adversity, that challenges that the person is facing, it brings back. It's a very small gesture, but it makes a huge difference in the patient's life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like giving hope. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Kiran, over to you. Can you share a transformative moment when you used your voice to challenge a misconception that people had about hijab in your workplace?
Yes, and I touched on it when we started, and that's the reason I kept it short at that time because I know you'd be asking me about this. So to go back to the lady with the Stone Age comment, that moment, and again, like I shared, I was glad I wasn't frozen. So I did respond to her, and then I shared it with my manager and my boss. And I've never seen white people get red so much. My manager, who's a great friend too, she actually wanted to get up. It's like, I'm going to go punch her. I'm like, no punching, no punching. We're not punching anybody. And then she said something that stayed with me. And she said, Kiran, you've got to write about this. I was writing for the region's only women's fashion magazine at that time, McMurray Girl, and she said, you've got to tell us what the hijab is. You've got to tell us more on this. So standing up for that and going from that adversity and thinking, how can I make this into something that everybody will understand? Because my hijab is my choice. You don't get to tell me to wear it or not, right? But it does still mystify people, right? So that's why it's important to have those conversations. So putting it into writing and in the most popular magazine at that time in our city, and sharing it out loud, and then being at events with the hijab on, that adversity, and coming to that realization that, okay, I have now been made an ambassador, and to be able to talk about it publicly is important, right? So again, going back to telling our stories, right? Like Sundas said, whether it's healthcare or media, whatever it is that we're working towards, how are we bringing about those changes? But those changes that start on the daily, right? So to go back to just healthcare for 1 second with Sundas, the fact that we were in the same city, we also started a campaign to have halal food. Halal is kosher for Muslims at the Fort McMurray Hospital. Alhamdulillah, it is still going on, right? There are a lot of Muslims in McMurray. Same with Tampa, right? Hey, Tampa healthcare folks, or if you're listening, right? So these are things that are important because they're part of your population. No one group is special, right? No one group is
Yeah.
special. We're special for our own diaspora, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But what is special is inclusion and not just to check off a box. So yes, can we have halal meats in our hospital, halal food in our hospitals? Can we have hijabi women doing everything that they want to do in mainstream fields? And the answer is yes. Nobody gets to stop us, right? We are
Yeah.
leaders. We are change makers, and that's what we're doing. And the idea always is to, again, to be able to tell our stories and not be afraid to say, you know what, but this is what I do and this is what I don't do, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Walking that line is just that. It's who I am. It's my life. And I also don't want you to say, hey, normalize this. What's the
Yeah.
opposite of normalize? You don't get to normalize my existence.
Yeah.
It is a normal existence like everybody else. It's just because I wear a hijab or I'm brown, I'm a Muslim woman. Please don't. Words
Yeah.
matter, right? And I get a kick, and I'll always say it out loud. You don't get to tolerate me. You don't get to tolerate anybody who looks different, right? You tolerate someone's you tolerate negative things in life, smell of garbage or someone's bad smell or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Don't
Yeah.
tolerate me because I'm different. Thank you very much, right? So it's just to be able to say out loud that these words matter. How we view things, how we say things, what we read, what we write matters, is how we make those changes on a daily basis.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. It's really, really powerful, and really owning that, right? Owning our existence and just allowing us to be ourselves. That's how we got to move forward. Sundas, now I want to ask you about how do you balance being a visible Muslim woman and a healthcare advocate in a space probably where you might be the only one looking like that?
I just wanted to add, like, I'm very like, it doesn't even bother me anymore. Like, I'm the only person in that community or in that space, but I walk into these spaces with pride, knowing that my perseverance my presence alone is a statement of resiliency, representation, and the power of my lived experience. Being a Muslim woman and being visibly from a religious minority, in the healthcare spaces, advocacy spaces, isn't a challenge. It's an opportunity. It allows me to bring a voice that has been missing in these communities, in these conversations, to shed light onto the barriers so many of my community, my faith, and my rural background people face in this arena. At one conference, I was chatting with someone and she called me a unicorn, which I took as compliment because she said, I've never seen anyone like you, a Muslim woman from a rural community, Fort McMurray, openly vocal about the struggles of a cancer patient, particularly facing stigma and taboo topic and just talking so comfortably about them. That moment reminded me why I do this work. I may be the only one in these rooms, but that means that I have the privilege and responsibility of representing countless others who have faced these challenges in silence. Speaking about barriers, biases, and the reality of marginalized patients isn't easy. I know that every conversation sparks change. When I share my story, I am not speaking for myself. I'm carrying the voices of countless others who were never given a platform to express their struggles. And I'm ensuring that at the decision-making table, the lived reality of diverse patients are acknowledged and solutions are created with them in mind. Balancing these identity, being a visible Muslim woman and a healthcare advocate, isn't about fitting into existing spaces. It's about making room for others. I stand firm in my truth, knowing that work that I do today will help shape the future, and where no one has to feel invisible in the healthcare system.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's for the people who don't even have a voice, right? That's why we are doing it, so that another person doesn't go through the same things that we have gone through. So beautiful. We are almost at the end, and we have our final questions, Kiran. What advice would you give to young hijabi women who worry their, religious dress might limit their career aspirations?
You stand on the shoulder of giants. The work is being done. A lot of the hard work has been done. It's still being done. I'm not naive that it's all gone and done with. It's like the glass ceiling. People like it's broken.
Yeah.
It's not. 70 cents on a dollar, people. That's a different story and conference. Having said that, a lot of women sometimes, when we're talking to youth, hijabi young girls, hey, be yourself, be yourself. Well, being themselves is the challenge here, right, for them. So let's give them better advice. And the better advice is, you are lucky that we now have these amazing, amazing platforms like World Hijab Day. Thank you, Nazma Khan. I will go red in the face thanking Nazma, but I will never stop because Nazma has given us this gift in World Hijab Day. These platforms exist. Um, you know, join these groups, do participate in these events, be part of the story, be part of the campaign that is telling this story, because without participation you cannot be comfortable in your identity. It is so easy to sit on your couch and sulk,
Yeah.
texting someone, oh my god, or snapchatting it, oh my god, this is not happening or that's not happening. What are you doing about it? Do the work. Come, do the work. We're here to help. We're here to mentor.
Yeah.
That messiah complex, that Hollywood perpetuates, that, the hijabi girl who is, my God, being wronged left, right, center, and the white boy or whatever boy is going to come and save her. You don't need anybody to save you. You've got Allah, girl.
Yeah.
And you've got your hijab, you've got your strength, and you've got your faith. And to put it in context, faith, family, friends always helps. Find those friends who will help you. Find those mentors who will help you. Join these platforms that already exist. A panelist before said, we didn't have these growing up. As teenagers, we didn't have World Job Day. You do. You do.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it? How are you participating? How are you making that difference? I teach my boys that. I have two beautiful boys. They're 24 and almost 21. I teach them that. How are you going to be a change maker? Whether they do it or not, it's on them. But change doesn't happen by sulking or complaining, sitting on your couch watching Netflix.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. That was beautiful, Sundas. Yes, Kiran. Sundas, how do you hope your story will inspire change for, those who wear the hijab and those who don't understand its significance?
I hope my story serves as both a source of empowerment and education, empowering those who wear hijab to walk into spaces with confidence, and education for those who don't fully understand its significance. For individuals who wear the hijab, I want them to know that they belong in every spaces, whether it's healthcare advocacy, leadership, or any field they choose. Our identity should never be seen as a barrier, but a source of strength. I want to show that we don't have to compromise who we are to be heard, to make a difference, or to lead important conversation. Our perspective matter, our stories are powerful, and we have every right to advocate for ourselves and others. But for the people who are unfamiliar with hijab, I hope my journey foster understanding and dialogue. Hijab is often misunderstood, but at its core, it's about choice, faith, and empowerment. Through my experience, I want to challenge these stereotypes and show women who wear the hijab that people are diverse, strong, and capable of shaping change. My hope is that by sharing my story, people will move beyond the misconception and see the individual behind the hijab, someone navigating through life's challenges with courage, just like everyone else. And more than anything, I want my story to contribute to the future where representation is no longer rare, where the next generation of hijabi women in advocacy, healthcare, and leadership feels supported, visible, and heard. If my journey opens up one door for someone else and spark a movement of awareness, then I have made an impact.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Sundas. Thank you, Sundas. Thank you, Kiran, for sharing your story and, being such wonderful panelists for this session. Before we wrap up our session, we would like to thank our sponsor, World Chic, for graciously sponsoring our event. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We still have one more session, so please tune in. Thank you, Kiran. Thank you, Sundas, and see you all.
Thank you, Khansa, and World Hijab Day.
Thank you so much, World Hijab Day, and thank you, Khansa, for the opportunity. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum.